Okay, so this is an example of how we are going to model some one-to-many relationships within DynamoDB. This video is, of course, part of an article on livefiredev.com. And in this example, what we are trying to model is all the one-to-many relationships between phones and brands. So, like a brand has many phones, a phone has many cameras, so on and so forth, right? So, what we're going to do is we are going to use the filtering of Google Sheets to simulate how we query things in DynamoDB, and that will give us an understanding of how we can actually query all of the data that we need for the different use cases. Now, over here, there is a PK or partition key and SK or sort key. And you can see that the different entity types are color coded differently. So, like these yellow are the phones, the blue ones are the phone cameras, and the pink ones on top are the brands. And since DynamoDB does not care that all of the different entity types have to have all of the different attributes, so a brand seems to have a name and an image, but a phone also has an OS and a RAM and an Amazon rating and what's in the box as a list, etc., etc. And a phone camera has megapixel and pretty much nothing else. So let's start looking at how we would query things. Now, the partition key, when we are querying by a partition key, we basically usually say something like the text is exactly, like we are not able to do anything other than that. So we say the text is exactly brand, and I'm going to say okay. And this already solves our problem because we don't need the sort key in this case. So now we get all the brands. Now for one of those brands, the value that is in the sort key right now is what we're going to take, and we're going to say that the partition key is exactly the hash for the brand Apple. And we are actually already getting a result, but usually what we would do is we would add a second condition over here, and we would say that the text starts with, and over here I'm going to write phone. So that's the same result set, but this is how we are able to query and get the one-to-many relationship of all of the phones that belong to a particular brand. In this case, the brand is Apple, and these are the phones, iPhone 13 and iPhone 13 Pro. Now, for the iPhone 13, this particular value in B, which I have highlighted right now, is going to be the partition key. And if we are trying to get all its cameras, then the sort key is going to start with camera. So we come back to partition key and say text is exactly phone. And we will come over here, and instead of phone, we will say camera. And here you have all of the cameras that belong to the iPhone 13 phone. So I hope that this gives you some sort of an idea about how we have modeled all the one-to-many relationships in DynamoDB. Not only that, I find Google Sheets or Excel as an interesting tool to help think about how the data is going to be stored and queried and play with the whole thing. So I hope you found that useful.